5 seconds to the open. Ready?
Who wants to get this thing started right about now?
Welcome to Follow the Money Weekly with your host, Jerry Robinson.
Welcome.
Not just some guru.
Oh, really?
Your host is an economist and a best-selling author.
What an interesting news item. I'd better write that down.
And just someone who likes to make money and help you to make money. Welcome to Follow the Money Weekly. And here he is, Jerry Robinson.
Greetings to you, friends all around the world. Welcome to Follow the Money Radio. So grateful to have you here along for the ride. You can find us right on the web, followthemoney.com, and there you can find all of the podcast archives, many different shows we have done over the years, top interviews with some of the leading economic minds and financial minds. We've also have had numerous topics we've covered that you can find in the archive. Just go to followthemoney.com and you'll click on the podcast button and you'll find all kinds of stuff there. We are so excited about today's show, and I say we because I am joined by my lovely wife, Jennifer. I'll introduce her in just a moment. We are so excited today because we're going to be covering a topic that we really haven't talked about too terribly much on this podcast before, and that is the topic of paying off debt. So many people today are mired in consumer debt, mortgage debt, whether it's credit card debt, student loan debt, medical debt. There are so many different kinds of debt that hold men and women hostage across not only this country, but many other countries as well. And today we're going to be showing you a very simple step-by-step process to break free from debt. And as always, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Jennifer. Jennifer, great to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks, Jerry. We are talking about debt, and I think it's a liberating thing whenever you, if you're already in debt, you can't rewind and have a do-over. But it's an exciting point and a liberating point when you make up your mind and your family makes up their minds as if you have a family or a spouse, to do this and to get out of debt. And that's what we want to help you with on today's podcast, on this show, is how to do that quickly.
Yeah, we're talking 5 to 9 years to pay off everything that you owe. It's possible. Did you know that? We're going to share with you a simple debt stacking system. Now, I can't take full credit for this system, although I sat down and did the numbers whenever I created this system, and I'm sure I borrowed from many different other great minds out there, but it's different than the Dave Ramsey model. Many of you are familiar with Dave Ramsey's model of debt repayment. This is slightly different. And I believe that you'll find that it's extremely powerful in helping you pay off debt quickly. And in fact, if you want to download the completely free debt report we've put together for you, you can go to followthemoney.com/debt, and you can download this entire document where you actually have the 5 steps towards debt freedom. So I want to move right into this debt repayment strategy. It's 5 simple steps. We have our 5 levels of financial freedom. We like the number 5. 5 steps to debt freedom. And through the use of this technique known as debt stacking, you can literally pay off all of your debts, including your mortgage, within 5 to 9 years. And I don't just mean your credit cards. As I'm talking your house mortgage, your car loans, your student loans. You can totally be debt-free within 9 years if you apply some simple debt repayment techniques that this free report that we have at followthemoney.com/debt will show you, and also we're going to talk about on this podcast. So let's go ahead and dive right in. The 5 steps towards debt freedom. Step number 1, very simple step. If you have credit card, student loan, auto loans, whatever kind of debt you have, step number 1, calculate the monthly amount spent upon debt. So you want to go through, it's going to take a little bit of pen and paper, right? You're going to have to sit down and take a look at your total budget and figure out all of the debts that you're currently paying, and you want to come up with a total monthly amount, right? So let's take all of your credit card debt, all of your student loan debt, all of your auto debt, And in fact, we're going to use a quick example here with Joe and Sally. Joe and Sally are this, I've talked to many people over the years, but I'm not going to use real people's names and real people's numbers. Let's just use Joe and Sally for an example. So Joe and Sally are a perfect example couple here. They have a $3,700 balance on Visa that they pay. They have a minimum payment of $115 per month on that. Sally also has a student loan for $12,000. She has a minimum payment of $210 on that every month. The family, they have an SUV. They took out an auto loan, and they have a $16,000 balance on that car. And so the minimum payment on that is $475. So see, we're adding up the minimum payments that we're having to pay here in step one. Also, Joe has a student loan. Joe and Sally, this couple, Joe has a student loan. He has $7,500 that he owes on the balance, and he's making a minimum payment of $185. And then finally, they have their primary residence mortgage, the Smith home. Sally and Joe Smith, they have a balance of $150,000 on their house. That gives them a minimum payment of about $793. So when we add up all of those, the Visa payment of $115, the student loans of $210 and $185 for each of them, the SUV payment of $475, and the primary residence mortgage payment of $793, we have $1,778 in minimum payments. That's exactly what you would do. You would sit down and say, okay, how much am I currently paying? Now, don't include any kind of overpayments that you're making, just the minimum payment. Figure out what the minimum payment is and write all of them down. So right here, we have the Visa card, 2 student loans, a car payment, and a home mortgage payment, right? Comes to $1,778 per month, okay? And so that's the very first step. We want to sit down and total all of those. The next step that we want to make is the next step we want to take, I should say, is we want to then create an ordered list of those debts. And so we're going to list out all of those debts, the mortgages, the credit card, the auto loan, the student loans, etc. And then we're going to order them, though, according to the highest interest rate first. And then we're going to descend to the lowest interest rate loans. So in other words, when we take a look at Joe and Sally, this make-believe couple we're talking about here, Joe and Sally Smith, when we take a look at their Visa card, their student loans, their auto loan, and their mortgage payment, obviously the highest interest rate is their Visa card. It's the consumer credit card. That has like an 18% interest rate. So that is going to go at the very top of the list, right? So we're going to rank everything based upon the total interest rate that debt cost. So the Visa card has an 18% interest rate. That goes on top. One of the student loans Sally has is a 6.2% interest rate. That goes second. The next one is the SUV payment, which is about 5%. That goes third. The home mortgage is 4.75%, so that goes last, or fourth. And then finally, Joe's student loan of 3% goes very last. So there you have 5 debt payments ordered based upon the interest rate.
And I would step in and say here to make sure and check that you are being consistent in the interest rates as far as the timing. So maybe you're looking at your credit card and it says 18% annualized. So you want to make sure all your other interest rates that you're ordering in this list are also their annualized rates. Now, on most debts and on your statements, they're going to show you the annualized rate. But sometimes they might give you a monthly rate or a daily rate. So you just want to make sure you're ordering them consistently. If you're using a monthly rate, use monthly for all of them. If it's annual, which most of them will show annual, then annual for the rest.
That's a great point. And so there you have step number 1. We make we calculate the monthly amount spent on debt. We figured up with this hypothetical couple, they're spending about $1,778 a month in minimum payments on all of this debt. And then we order the list. We order the list in step 2 based upon the interest rate. The highest interest rate goes first, the lowest interest rate goes last. Now we move into step 3. So now here's where the rubber meets the road. This is where we're going to begin repaying our debt, but this time it's going to be on turbo. We're going to turbocharge it. This is our debt stacking method. So you're out there and you're drowning in debt. Many of our members don't have any debt. Many of our members have lots of debt. Many people who are listening to this podcast may be facing insurmountable, feeling like they cannot possibly overcome the amount of debt that they've taken on. Well, this is a system that will help you break free. So step number 3 is to begin repaying your highest interest loan first. So what we would begin doing is begin paying the minimum monthly amount on all of your debts except for the debt with the highest interest rate. And what we're going to do there is, in this particular hypothetical case, and we're going to show you how this works out, because Sally and Joe have $189,000 here of total debt. You know, their Visa card, their student loans, their SUV payment, their home, everything comes up to about $189,000. They're going to be able to pay this off in less than 10 years, all of it. Now, we're talking about a 30-year loan, right? We're talking about a student loan that probably could be stretched out for 20 years maybe. We've got a SUV loan that's probably 6-7 years, and a Visa card that probably would never be paid off if you just kept paying the minimum payment. We're talking about paying off all of this debt in less than 10 years. And in fact, the way we're going to show you here is we're going to pay off all of this debt in 9 years and 9 months. It's pretty staggering. So here's how we're going to do it. What we're going to do is we're going to take some extra money, and Jennifer, I think this is very important, is that we're going to sit down and figure out all the minimum payments, and then we're going to come up with a number of extra money that we can apply each month to our debt stacking. And so tell us how we come up with that money.
Well, so assuming the Smith family here in our example was, they're probably struggling slightly to make these minimum payments, but they're doing it. They're not behind on their debt or anything. They're doing it, but they're ready to be out of debt. So they start with the total of their minimum payments, which, as Jerry mentioned, was $1,778. And then they cut out some eating out every week. They cut the cable. They cut the Netflix. They maybe cut one cell phone from the family because they're deciding that, they have a purpose. They have a goal. They're going to cut some of the fat from their budget because they want to pay this debt off quickly. So they're going to make a few strategic sacrifices, cut off, just the leaking from the budget, be very wise and intentional about their spending now. And they're going to come up with an extra $250 each month because they looked at the budget and they cut some things out that they didn't need. And they're going to apply an extra $250 on top of their minimum payments to the debt stacking program. And so that's what they're going to start applying only to that highest interest loan. And I'll let you take it from here.
That's so important. So in essence, what we have here is we have a couple, Joe and Sally, who have this $189,000 worth of debt. We're using this as a perfect example here for you. Maybe you can identify with Joe and Sally here. They have Visa card debt. They got student loan debts. Both of them do. They got auto loan debt. They got a mortgage debt. And what they're going to do is they're going to pay the minimum payment on each one of these, except what they're going to do. And some people, honestly, Jennifer, many people will often maybe take a month and say, hey, I'm going to pay an extra $200 to this. And sometimes they do it regularly. But because they don't have an intentional plan, they're not going to get this kind of performance that you're going to get from this debt stacking method, because they're not doing it consistently. And because they don't have a plan to pay off the highest interest rate first, they're not going to get the kind of results that we're going to get with this. So what Jennifer has basically said is, with the case of Joe and Sally, they're going to decide to take $250 extra above their minimum payments, right? And how are they going to get that money? Well, some people will say, hey, I got the extra money. I can do that. I want to pay off my debt early. Others will have to make sacrifices to come up with that extra $250. But either way, you want to come up with a number above your minimum payments that you can commit to. $250 in this case is not that much money. Again, as you pointed out, that's probably eating out once a week. That's probably, a big cell phone bill and maybe a few other bills as well. So this is manageable. This is doable. So what we're going to do is, in step 3, is we're going to begin paying the minimum monthly payment on all of our debts, the student loan, the SUV, the home mortgage, and the student loans for both Joe and Sally. But we're going to take that Visa card, which has the highest interest rate of 18%, and we're going to start applying our regular minimum monthly payment to Visa plus this $250 extra every single month. And so it's going to go towards the Visa account, and you're going to apply all of that money to the Visa card. And how long are you going to keep paying that Visa card? until you pay off the Visa card. So you're going to be paying the minimum payment plus that extra money that you're dedicating to pay off the Visa card. In this case, when you begin to do that with Visa, with this 18% loan, you're going to be able to pay off your Visa card in 10 months, right? So Sally and Joe are going to pay off this Visa debt in 10 months. Now, what happens at the end of 10 months? Well, at the end of 10 months, now that your first and highest interest rate debt is paid, you're going to move to the second debt on your list. But this time...
Wait, I thought you were going to say celebrate with a huge vacation.
No celebration. We're still way in debt. So what we're going to do is, now that that first Visa card is paid off at 18% interest rate, what we're going to do is we're going to move to the second debt. And the second debt on this list, in this hypothetical example, is a 6.2% student loan debt, $12,000 balance, $210 minimum payment hanging over your head every single month. What we're going to do is we're going to apply the amount that we paid to our first debt to the minimum monthly amount to your second debt. All right, so you with me? It's pretty straightforward. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that Visa payment, which we've paid off now. We were paying $115 plus $250, right? Because we had decided to pay extra to that Visa card, and that came to a total of about $365. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take that $365 that we were paying to the Visa, and we're going to add it to the minimum payment on the second debt on the list, which is Sally's student loan at 6.2% interest rate. It's the second highest interest rate. So when we add all that up, what we're going to be doing is we're going to continue to pay that Visa card, but we're now, even though it's gone, we're going to act like it's still there, and we're going to keep paying Sally's student loan, right? And that's going to be a total of $575 every month. Now remember, we're still making the minimum payment on our auto loan. We're still making the minimum payment on our mortgage, and we're still making the minimum payment on Joe's student loan. Now we're attacking Sally's student loan. This is the second one on the list. And we're taking everything that we had paid towards Visa, and now that the Visa card's paid off, we're not going out and celebrating. We're not going out and taking a vacation. We're not going out and going to tie up that money and go spend it again. We're going to focus it. We're going to concentrate it on the second debt on the list, which is that student loan at 6.2%. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to pay that $575 every single month to the student loan, the second one on the list. And when we do that, what we're going to find is that we're going to be able to pay off that student loan in 2.5 years. So basically 2.5 years, okay? 2.5 years, you're going to have that second debt completely wiped out. That's going to be a great day. And by the way, then we're going to move on to our next debt on the list, which is the auto loan. And we're going to begin taking what? We're going to take the Visa payment that we were making, that we applied to the second debt, the student loan, and we're going to take the student loan debt, which we were paying, and we're going to apply it to the next payment on the list, which is the auto loan. And that one's right about 5%. And so we're going to take the $575 that we were spending on the student loan, and we're going to add it to the $475 for the minimum monthly payment of the SUV, giving us a total of $1,050. So every single month, once we have paid off the second student loan, we're moving to the next debt on the list, down the list, and now we're paying the third debt, and we're applying all of the money that we had been paying for the first two debts to this. We're concentrating. We're focusing. We are not taking the money and then saying, hey, we paid off that credit card debt. Let's go spend the money that we're taking it, and we're continuing to snowball it, right? We're continuing to attack the total debt.
And this is step number 5 in the process, by the way. It's basically rinse and repeat until you knock out all of the debts. You take that same amount that you were paying the former debt with, now that you've paid it off, and you apply it to the next highest interest rate debt. And you continue doing that. This is step number 5. Step number 5 is just rinse and repeat until you've knocked out all of the debts.
That's right. And so by the time you begin to look at this on the actual calendar, you'll find out that not only is the Visa paid off and all the student loans paid off and the SUV is paid off, but also the mortgage, which was like a $150,000 mortgage, which normally is a 30-year note. All of the debt, the Visa, the student loans, the SUV, and the home, to almost $200,000 in debt, paid off in 9 years and 9 months. And what did you spend? you spent $250 more than your minimum monthly payments, and that's all you did. That's all you did. You didn't have to do anything crazy, right? It didn't. You're paying already what you're paying. I mean, in other words, your minimum payments are already there. And so if you just continue paying those minimum payments and then add a little bit on the top, in this case, $250, it's going to give you the impetus to be able to knock out a 30-year mortgage and all of your other debt in less than 10 years. We've run calculations, by the way, on this, and we've helped people with this over the years. We're not debt counselors, by the way. I mean, obviously, I used to be a financial advisor, but I'm not a debt counselor. There's great debt counselors out there, and there's some bad guys out there, too. You got to be careful. But this is a simple system that anybody can use, that we've actually used in our own lives, and we've seen tremendous power from this simple debt stacking system. Let's repeat the steps in order. And by the way, you can download this entire report by going to our website, followthemoney.com/debt. Let's repeat the 5 steps towards debt freedom. Step number 1, calculate your monthly amount spent upon debt. That's step number 1. Step number 2, create an ordered list of your debts based upon the highest interest rate loans first. Step number 3, begin repaying your highest interest loan first, right? Step number 4, apply the former amount to your next debt once you've paid off the first debt. And then step 5, just keep continuing that process until all of your debts are paid in full.
And what's nice is you'll wake up in 6 years, 8 years, 9 years, not only with this, $1,778, like the Smith family in our example, that has to go to no loan collectors anymore, but you'll also wake up with a burden off of your shoulders of this heavy debt. And it can totally be done with this process. And maybe, Jerry, we should discuss at this point the types of people that this system would be right for. And it's really right for anybody, but I think I want to start maybe with if you are out there and by chance you are waking up every day having to put groceries and electric bills on a credit card because you don't even have enough to pay off your already existing debts, perhaps a loan consolidation service that's out there might be better for you. But other than that, I think this 5-step system that we call debt stacking can really help anybody in a debt situation.
I think so. And by the way, we've seen people use this system and pay off their debts, which you would say, wow, that's a lot of money that they have in debt. Pay it off in 6 years, all the debt, including the mortgage. I mean, it's really quite powerful what happens when you begin to focus and concentrate upon this. So yeah, I mean, if you find yourself having an extra $100 or $200 at the end of every month, right? This makes sense for you. Many people have more than that at the end of the month. But if you have an extra $100 to $200 a month, you can do this. And you say, well, I don't have that. Well, like Jennifer said, you can find it, right? You can find it. You can find a way to cut. We live in a time now, friends, what we often call the consumption trap, where many times we are told that we need all of these things, but our wants and our needs sometimes get confused and conflated in this system that we live in. And so really discerning between your wants and your needs and saying, yeah, I can find $100. If I have to dig in the couch, I'm going to find an extra $100 or $200 every single month to apply to this system. I'm going to pay my minimum debts on everything, except I'm going to come up with a little bit extra. And I'm going to start applying it to the highest interest rate first, and then to the second highest interest rate after that one's paid off, and then the third highest interest rate until all of them are gone. Unbelievable peace that will come about you whenever you no longer have these insurmountable debts hanging over your head like the sword of Damocles. I mean, there's so many people who are facing, stress. Many people are stressed. I saw a story the other day, Jennifer, that America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, pursuing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and they're one of the most stressed out nations in the whole world, right? They got everything they want. They're as rich as they could possibly be. They're the richest people on the planet. They got everything they could possibly desire coming out their ears, and they're sad. They're depressed. They're angry. They're fearful, right? It's a really big conundrum. And for a lot of the reason is because we have tried to find our value in things. We've tried to find our value in consumption. And what it has actually led to is massive amounts of debt and kind of being stuck on life's treadmill where you can't seem to get off.
Right. And so if you find yourself in that situation, please try out this system. You can go to followthemoney.com/debt, and you can download straight to your device in PDF format these 5 steps. So if you didn't get a chance to write them down during the podcast, you can just go download followthemoney.com/debt, and you can get all the 5 steps there. And then, Jerry, I want to add one kind of more technical note, if that's okay. I forgot to mention earlier when we were going through the steps, and I've learned this from experience in the past, is that when you're doing this system, one thing that I would caution you on is when you go to make extra payments towards your principal of these balances, lenders' websites have gotten a little bit tricky, and I'm not blaming them at all. I'm just saying, just be very careful that those extra payments you make on top of the minimum payment actually go towards the principal. And sometimes you have to do a little bit of digging to make sure you're doing that correctly. For example, maybe 6 or 8 years ago, I was making an extra payment, and I thought it was going towards principal. But what was happening is I made the extra payment, and the default on the lender's system was that extra payments would just go to prepay your following month's mortgage. And so that was the default of the system. It was my fault that I didn't go and make sure it was going towards principal only, but it can be just a little bit tricky, and you might have to make sure or even make a phone call that your extra payments are going towards principal only and not towards some sort of prepayment later on down the road.
Yeah, that's a great point, but don't let that stand in your way, because you can achieve this. And for those out there who have a mortgage payment, they say, yeah, I'd love to pay off my mortgage early, or maybe you have a car loan or student loans or credit card debt or whatever you're trying to deal with. This is a solution. I want to see you set free. Both of us do. We want to see you set free. We want to see you enjoying true financial liberty. It's possible. You can reach it. It's up to you. Take action. Followthemoney.com/debt. Download the completely free report on how this process works and start implementing it in your own family. And whenever you have some testimonials to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. You can always reach out to us at our website, followthemoney.com/contact. We'd love to hear your stories.
I'm going to go out on a limb and make a bold prediction. The 2019 Follow the Money Summit is likely to yield more financial fruit for attendees than any other activity throughout the whole year. Hey guys, it's Jennifer Robinson, and I want to personally invite you to join us on Friday, May 31st, 2019 at the Embassy Suites in bustling Rogers, Arkansas to see Jerry, myself, and a host of exciting speakers. Many of our listeners have shared how attending the summit in the past has been the catalyst for breaking free financially. With a powerful lineup of speakers, teachings, and breakout sessions, this year's summit promises to be the most powerful yet. At this year's free live event on May 31st, you will be able to network with like-minded people and get motivated to break free financially. You will even have the opportunity to meet Jerry and me, even have dinner with us at our optional evening event. You can also attend our next day event on Saturday, June 1st. This optional event is our powerful trend trading boot camp, an all-day intense training for those wanting to trade stocks for profit. Get your free summit ticket at summit.followthemoney.com now. There, you can choose to add one or both of our optional events as well, including the Trend Trading Bootcamp and the special evening with Jerry Robinson and myself. Learn more online at summit.followthemoney.com.
Hey friends, this is Jerry Robinson from Follow the Money Weekly. Recently, we have been receiving many emails from our listeners commenting on the great help they're getting from our precious metals expert, Tom Cloud. Gold and silver are excellent hedges against the growing threat of coming U.S. inflation. Who's your gold guy? Make it Tom Cloud. With over 30 years experience with precious metals, Tom will answer all of your questions. Don't buy your gold and silver through some call center and pay inflated prices. Call my good friend Tom Cloud and speak directly with him and get all of your questions answered. For a limited time, Tom is offering free shipping and insurance on every gold and silver purchase made by our listeners. Call 800-247-2812. And when you do, tell him that Jerry Robinson from Follow the Money Weekly sent you, and he'll throw in that free shipping and insurance on your entire order. Call your gold guy, Tom Cloud, right now for the very best deals on gold and silver coins. 800-247-2812. That is 800-247-2812. All right, friends, welcome back to the program. Great to have you along. FollowTheMoney.com is where you can find us online. Great to have you here. A couple of announcements real quickly before we close out with our final word. First of all, don't forget, if you want to download our debt report, you can go to followthemoney.com/debt and download that free report. I really encourage those of you who are mired in debt or have lots of debt and you're trying to figure out what to do to give this particular strategy, this system, a shot. I mean, it really could mean the big difference between you having enough money at the end of the month and not. So I strongly encourage you to check it out, followthemoney.com/debt. Also, we have our 2019 Follow the Money Summit coming up at the end of this month. I can't believe it's already May 2019. May 31st, we're holding and hosting a completely free 2019 Follow the Money Summit. It's an investment summit, so we're going to be talking about lots of different things. We're going to be talking about the state of the American economy. We're going to be talking about how you can break free financially. We're going to be talking about very specific investment and income ideas that we are personally implementing, and we'll be sharing those with you. We'll also be joined by other experts in their field. We'll be joined by Tom Cloud, who you've heard on this podcast many times, who is an expert in the precious metals field. We're also going to be joined by Jay Taylor, who has been a guest on this podcast before, and he is a gold mining expert. We're also going to be joined by many from our Christian advisor referral. So if you're looking for financial wisdom, this is the place to be. May 31st, 2019. You have a free seat waiting for you right here in Northwest Arkansas. You get all the details and reserve your seats at summit.followthemoney.com. You just type into a web browser, summit.followthemoney.com, and you can get all the details right there and get registered and reserve your seat. We're going to be hosting this, by the way, this year at the Embassy Suites Resort and Spa. Beautiful, beautiful hotel in Rogers, Arkansas. So you get all the details there, summit.followthemoney.com. And with all that said, I guess that brings us to the end of our broadcast. Thank you so much for dialing in, my friends. Let's leave you with a final word, as always, this time taken from the Bible, Romans, the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 8. And the Bible says in the King James Version, "Owe no man anything but to love one another. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law." That's the law of God, isn't it? The law of God is to love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. So the Bible tells us to owe nothing anyone. That really speaks to our debt issue in this country, doesn't it? And around the world, for that matter. Owe no man anything except love. And that's just something to think about. Remember, friends, when you want the truth about the global economy, just follow the money. Have a safe and prosperous week, and we'll see you right back here next time. Until then, God bless.
All All of the information contained on the Follow the Money podcast is strictly for informational and educational purposes. It should not be construed as specific investment advice. The views and opinions of our guests and sponsors are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of FTMDaily.com or Robinson Media Group, LLC. Jerry Robinson does hold an insurance license and at times may offer consulting on life insurance and fixed retirement income products. Follow-up, individualized responses to email or phone requests that involve the rendering of personalized investment advice for compensation will not be made absent compliance with state investment advisor registration requirements or an applicable exemption or exclusion and applicable insurance regulations. Past performance is not indicative of future results. You should be aware of the real risk of loss in following any strategy or investment discussed on the podcast. Remember, never do your financial planning through podcast or radio. It's your money. Be wise. Do your due diligence and always consult a trusted financial professional before making any financial decisions.